Eric Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast live stream. It is Wednesday, and we are about 8 days into a new phase, clearly, of Israel's war. And yes, it is a war with Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. Now, today, just to get you up to speed, folks, we've got a lot to unpack today. I mean, a lot. I've got a bunch of bullet points here written down, things I don't want to forget to mention to you, important developments in the world's most strategic and chaotic region. And most importantly, why they matter to you, and also what does the Bible say about it all. But let's break it down. Let's start with where we are at today. Herzi Halevi, who is the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces military chief, he today addressed Israeli troops in the north. And he said, look, we are preparing to go in on the ground. Israel also just cleared 2 reserve units to be called up and to presumably enter Lebanon. Now, it seems increasingly likely, folks, that some kind of ground incursion will come. Now, is that an incursion? Exactly what I just said, a smaller kind of ground initiative, maybe special forces, maybe with pinpointed strikes, you're in and you're out, with the goal of pushing Hezbollah back? Or are we talking an all out invasion of Lebanon? And with the goal, again, of pushing, look, the goal could be twofold, right? And we've discussed this a bunch the past few days. Is the goal to weaken Hezbollah to the point and deal such heavy blows to the point where Hezbollah says, okay, we're going to back away from that Israel Lebanon border, ideally, some 18 miles away from that border beyond the Litani River in Lebanon? Is that the goal? Just to weaken Hezbollah? They're already weakened after the past 8 days, but drive Hezbollah back, create a buffer zone there, and enable the residents of the northern Israel, who've evacuated over the past nearly a year now, some 80,000 of them, enable them to feel comfortable enough to return home where they're knowing, okay, Hezbollah is, say, 18 miles away beyond the Litani. We've got a buffer zone here. We've got some breathing room. Is that the goal? Or is the goal the complete destruction and dismantlement of Hezbollah, like we're seeing in Gaza right now with Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah's fellow Iranian proxies? Folks, that will tell you a lot in terms of what this ground invasion looks like, whether it's small, whether it's larger scale, and really whether it happens at all. But it seems like signs are pointing towards something happening on the ground. Number one, we had again the Israeli military chief, Herzi Halevi. You know what? Herzi Halevi, I'm sorry. I can just quote directly what he said. Herzi Halevi told troops, IDF troops today, while visiting the country's border with Lebanon, quote, you hear the jets overhead. We have been striking all day. And this is the key point. This is both to prepare the ground for your possible entry and to continue degrading Hezbollah. To achieve that, we are preparing the process of a maneuver, he said. And again, this is the top man in the IDF. Quote, it means your military boots, he's telling the troops, your maneuvering boots will enter enemy territory, enter villages that Hezbollah has prepared as large military outposts. We will show them what it means to face a professional, highly skilled, and battle experienced force. Wow. That's the head of the IDF in a very public way saying, we're going to go on the ground. And those Hezbollah run villages, which we've told you a bunch about here over the past few days, you know, those villages where civilian homes have been turned essentially into rocket launching pads, quite literally. We've showed you the footage from the IDF and the still photos where literally in the attic of a home in southern Lebanon, you'll have a rocket, and beneath the attic, a family will be sitting around the table eating dinner in the living room. That's the situation in Lebanon. It's been like that for years, folks. I told you about 9 years ago on one of my many visits to that Israel-Lebanon border. Again, this is a decade ago practically. And Israeli intelligence experts said, Eric, all those beautiful homes you see in that beautiful rolling countryside, the mountains there in southern Lebanon, and oh, it is beautiful. Those homes are hiding something sinister. Hezbollah not only stores fighters inside those homes, but rockets and missiles. And now you're seeing it play out in real time as Israel strikes those rocket launching positions, which many times are in civilian homes. But does a ground invasion to you, and first and foremost. I want to hear what you think, the watchmen and women on the wall who watch us every day. What do you guys think, guys and gals? What's your thoughts on this? Is what we're seeing over the past few days building up to a ground invasion? Very simple question. I mean, I said this has been 8 days. We're 8 days in, right, to this new phase, as Israel calls it, of the operation against Hezbollah. It is the Great Northern War. We haven't seen the ground component of it yet, but essentially we've talked about the Great Northern War. Gosh, I was talking about that here in this space on YouTube 5, 6 years ago. You knew this day was coming, right? The showdown with Hezbollah. We knew it. Anyone with a shred of common sense who follows the region closely knew that this day had to come where Hezbollah was decisively dealt with because it's an existential threat to the state of Israel on Israel's border. It's unacceptable for Israel. It's a complete red line. But what we've seen in the last 8 days shown you that, yeah, wow, the next logical step here seems to be a ground invasion. Remember, this started 8 days ago with the exploding pagers, the exploding walkie-talkies on September 17th and 18th. Then on September 19th, we had the first really major airstrikes against Hezbollah positions. September 20th, Ibrahim Akil and literally all of the Radwan force, or practically all, maybe a few weren't there, the Radwan force, that elite Hezbollah unit, they were all eliminated in an Israeli airstrike in the southern suburbs of Beirut. Bring it up to today, the past 5 days since, massive airstrikes. Yesterday and Monday, over about a 48-hour span, Israel struck over 1,600 targets throughout Lebanon, eliminated a good deal, according to Israeli officials, of Hezbollah's very large rocket and missile arsenal. I assume some drones were taken out as well. So is the logical next step, okay, we've softened Hezbollah up, we've softened up its defenses, we've sent this organization into complete disarray, thousands of fighters wounded in the pager walkie-talkie attacks, the inner sanctum around Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, hey, his table is empty right now. He's pretty much one of the only top dogs left in Hezbollah. Is a ground invasion next? I want to know your thoughts. And I also would love, if you love what you're hearing here, if you could subscribe to our channel. Because when you do, folks, more people will hear this invaluable information. That's why we want, hey, YouTube sees, wow, okay, more people subscribing. Let's get it out to more and more people. And guess what that means? That means for such a time as this, in these prophetic Bible times, people will be educated. I think people would rather know than not know what is happening and how it affects them, no matter where they live. So, hey, hit that subscribe button, click the notification bell as well so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. Very important. And folks, again, we're talking about the North. And look, some 80,000 people evacuated. Wrap your head around that. This is the equivalent. I made this point on my show, Stacklebeck Tonight, yesterday. This is the equivalent. Okay, I live in the United States. This is the equivalent of a terror organization in Canada or Mexico. And don't get me started on the border, southern border. I get it. But just picture this, a terror organization in, say, Mexico or Canada launching rockets for a solid year into, say, Texas or Minnesota. That's the equivalent of what Israel is facing right now since October 8th, 2023. It's been nearly a solid year every single day to the tune of over 8,500 projectiles, rockets, missiles, drones, mortars as well, being launched into Israel. Can you imagine, no matter where you live in the world, and we have viewers from around the world here on the channel, I'm just coming at it from an American perspective. I'm sitting in Texas right now. If towns in southern Texas or towns in northern Minnesota were being bombarded across the border, could you imagine for a year? And tens of thousands of American citizens were evacuated from their homes, living in suitcases scattered across the United States, living out of hotels for a year. We'd never accept it. It's a non-starter. And guess what? Not only America, no nation would accept it. And yet that's what we have right now in Israel. The world is browbeating Israel, telling Israel to restrain itself and stand down and leave Hezbollah alive to fight another day. And yet, I bring it back to those civilians. 80,000 Israelis evacuated. And folks, what about the small businesses throughout Israel that have been impacted over the past year. Civilians, and many of those civilians are small business owners. Look, Israel's economy has taken a major hit over the past year. You can't have an entire region of your nation, especially when you're a nation the size of the state of New Jersey, like Israel, an entire region like the North, literally a ghost town evacuated for a year, not to mention areas around the Gaza border in southern Israel. And businesses are suffering, especially small businesses. That's why I want to tell you about our partner for today's live stream, our good friends at Artza. Now, if you've been watching for a while, you know we've got a long-standing relationship with our dear friends at Artza with their incredible Artza boxes going back to 2020, almost 5 years now. We've been working with Artza, and for such a time as this, that saying goes without saying. People are asking me, how can I help Israel? You know, we've been bringing you different Israeli organizations who can help you bless the land in Israel's time of greatest need right now, right? And fulfill that biblical mandate to bless the people of Israel laid out in Genesis 12:3. That's a mandate. Well, one great way to do that is to support Israeli small businesses and help bolster the Israeli economy, which again, it's war, folks, for a year. They're struggling. Artza, and you can find them at artzabox.com, and you'll see what I mean. These are high quality, top notch, incredible boxes filled with products made in Israel, made by Israeli small businesses, handcrafted in places like Jerusalem, Nazareth, Bethlehem, the Galilee, handcrafted in the Holy Land and delivered to your doorstep. Now, listen, this is a time where it's very difficult to get to Israel. Flights are being canceled. Not a lot of people are going. It's a time of war. So a guy like me who goes to Israel usually 4 to 5 times a year, I've been very blessed, very spoiled, I guess you would say, to get to Israel whenever I want, in a sense. It's even been difficult for me to get to the land recently. And if you've never been to Israel, it's on your bucket list. Look, Artza is the next best thing. These products are top notch, handcrafted in Israel. You're blessing the Israeli economy. It's artzabox.com. And the best thing about it, the discount code Watchman, MAN, you get a 10% discount off your Artza box. Hey, listen, this current box, and it's a different region. You'll have a Jerusalem box, a Nazareth box, the Galilee. Now, Arts is offering a biblical archaeology box. One of my favorite subjects, biblical archaeology, one of our viewers' favorite subjects. The focus, our good friends at Artza say, is to help people explore and deepen their connection to biblical scripture through these authentic products and through the archaeology that is being uncovered every day in Israel, as we've shown you many times here on the show. And a special note, my friends at Artza wanted to send around, with everything going on, these businesses, these artisans who make these products in Israel that are delivered in these Artza boxes, many of these businesses are crumbling, folks. They're struggling. And these businesses will be lifted up when you partner with Artza and subscribe to your Artza box to get your Artza boxes. And the proceeds from these boxes go to one that is employing Israeli army veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, from war constantly, and also women who've escaped abusive relationships in the land. So a great cause, a great product, a great organization. Check them out, artzabox.com. Remember the discount code Watchman, MAN, 10% discount off your Artza box. Okay. And folks, I believe in this strongly. I don't partner with many organizations. There's a handful, and all of them are doing God's work, and all of them are blessing Israel. That's how I decide, okay, let's partner together. I believe in what you're doing. So Arts is one of them for sure. Hey, to break down a little bit more about what's happening, and I know you're commenting on the ground invasion, the possibilities, and what you think. Here's some more news that I want to get you caught up on from the past 24 hours, really less. Number one, Hezbollah. I told you yesterday, Hezbollah is down but not out. Hezbollah fired a missile at Tel Aviv last night. That's the deepest Hezbollah has ever fired into Israel. It's central Israel along the Mediterranean coast. Thankfully, that missile was intercepted, but you could expect likely a pretty heavy response from Israel. And Israel already, as I'm coming to you around 4:40 p.m. Texas time here in the United States, Israel is already carrying out airstrikes, more airstrikes, after those massive waves I just discussed over the past few days. So the Tel Aviv missile, Then you also had a missile launch today at one of my favorite places in Israel, Mount Hermon. That's the northernmost point of Israel, a snow-capped mountain. Yes, snow-capped mountains exist in the Middle East, folks, including in Israel. There's actually a ski resort at Mount Hermon, which I've been. You've probably seen me there. I did an entire show from there a few years ago. But a cable car, and I've rode in those cable cars at Mount Hermon, was severely damaged today. But again, Mount Hermon is a place where you can see civilians, Israeli civilians, and of course, Tel Aviv, the other target. One more thing to mention here about Iran's Ring of Fire and what they are doing. There was there were two drones launched at Eilat. So the northernmost point, Mount Hermon, northern Israel. And by the way, you can travel the entire nation in about 8 or 9 hours, if not less, from north to south. That's how small Israel is. It's the size of the state of New Jersey. Again, back to that economy factor. In a nation that small, you can't afford to have entire regions shut down like we've seen. But Hermon to the north, Eilat, the southernmost point of Israel on the Red Sea, an Iranian-backed Iraqi Shia militia, you've heard me talk about them, launched two drones today at Eilat. Now, one was intercepted, thank God. The other one hit the port at Eilat. Again, a place I've spent some time on that beach in Eilat, a beautiful place, hit the port and injured two people, two Israelis. So what you see here is Hezbollah trying to extend its reach, hitting Tel Aviv, but also the other charter members of Iran's Ring of Fire throwing their hats in the ring. And I think you can expect more coming from Iraq and from Syria as they try to alleviate the pressure on Hezbollah. The Houthis as well. They've been strangely silent this past week, but they may have something up their sleeve for sure out of Yemen. It's that entire ring of fire that surrounds Israel on all sides. And we told you on yesterday's newscast. If you missed it, by the way, you can check it out in our archives. Just go to newscast. Boom, it's right there. But we told you yesterday that Hezbollah is essentially begging the Iranian regime, its Iranian masters, for help because they're feeling the squeeze. They've suffered, again, heavy, heavy blows. And Hezbollah is imploring Iran, hey, get involved, attack Israel directly. And Iran is saying, well, not so fast. The timing isn't right. And I've been saying, look, when would the timing become right for Iran? But number one, that shows you the desperation of Hezbollah right now. That's why you should not be surprised, folks, that you're seeing drones from Iraq. You may see some things from Yemen, from Syria. Gaza, I'm happy to say, has been removed from that ring of fire because Hamas and Islamic Jihad have been battered and they are in their death throes. They're not capable right now of joining in the attack against Israel in any sort of remotely significant way. So that makes the Houthis more important. That makes the Shia militias in Iraq and Syria more important in Iran's battle plan and its overall overarching scheme and strategy. And that certainly makes the crown jewel, Hezbollah, too big to fail. And as Hezbollah asks Iran to get involved, I think you will see Iran get involved directly if the Iranian regime believes that Hezbollah is about to suffer a knockout blow. It's one thing for Hezbollah to be battered and be beat up badly, and they are right now. But if, say, there's a ceasefire, and we'll talk about that in a minute, and what Biden and his administration are doing there, say there's a ceasefire, Hezbollah lives to fight another day. Iran's not happy about what's gone on at all. They're in shock over it, I believe, but they can live with that because they say, look, we can rebuild. It's going to take us a while. Took us 40 some years to get here. From 82 to 2024, Hezbollah, 42 years, it's been in existence, created by Iran. It's an arm of the regime. But we're patient and we'll build you guys back up. The Iranian supreme leader said yesterday, look, Hezbollah has suffered blows, but they're down, but they're anything but out. That was his message. So Iran can begrudgingly live with that. What Iran can accept, especially now that Gaza has been taken off the board as a ring in that ring of fire, what the Iranian regime cannot accept is Hezbollah taken off the board. And the main reason for that is not only the positioning of Hezbollah to blanket Israel with missiles and rockets, we know that. But again, I said this yesterday, Hezbollah was a sort of insurance policy for Iran. If and when Israel strikes Iran's nuclear weapons facilities. What was Iran going to do? How was Iran going to respond? They were going to activate Hezbollah. And if Hezbollah is no longer Hezbollah, that becomes a lot tougher for Iran. So I believe if it looks like Israel, maybe a ground invasion, but if Israel is going to knock Hezbollah off the board, then Iran's going to get involved directly, I believe. They don't want to, but I can't see Iran just letting their crown jewel fall by the wayside. Gaza was one thing, and that was a bitter pill for Iran to swallow after Hamas played and Islamic Jihad played such a critical role in being a thorn in Israel's side over the past few decades with the prodding from Iran. But Hezbollah is something different entirely. So, yeah, if Hezbollah looks like it is in its death throes, then Iran may very well get involved directly. Uh, so things heating up on all borders now, all sides, number one. Jotted down so many things today that I don't want to forget to share with you guys. Uh, Biden administration. There you go. Been a long day. Sorry. Right now, Biden is pushing a ceasefire, not only in Gaza, of course, but in Lebanon. He wants truce talks between Israel and Hezbollah. Uh, I personally, on one hand, I find it hard to believe that Hezbollah would accept moving back 18 miles beyond the Litani River. Number one, again, they've spent years and years building up their forces along the Israel-Lebanon border, and it's not by accident. They want to be perched on Israel's border so they can more easily attack Israel. And number two, many of those Hezbollah members actually live in southern Lebanon near the Israel border. So they're not only evacuating their forces, those forces are evacuating their homes, essentially, for many reasons. And it's a sign of weakness for Hezbollah for many reasons. Man, I find it hard to believe they'll accept some kind of ceasefire that would push them beyond the Litani River. But hey, if they've been hurt that bad, and they've taken heavy blows, even Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, has admitted as much. These have been heavy blows over the past 8 days. Then maybe Hezbollah is more amenable to some sort of ceasefire. We shall see. I can tell you that the West, led by the United States, is pushing that very strongly. And as usual, the Biden administration, I want to quote from this Biden administration official. I thought you'd find this interesting and perhaps infuriating. Give me 1 second here as I pull this up. Interesting article again from Axios. Biden's big Middle East fear comes true. And we have John Feiner. He's the National Security Advisor. This gives you a window into where the U.S. government, the current U.S. government, is coming from. John Feiner, who is the Deputy National Security Advisor, I'm just reading this straight off my phone. He says that we are extremely concerned about a much bigger war, a wider war. Okay, I get that. But then he says this: a bigger war is not in the interest of Israel and will not allow people to go back home, the people who've been evacuated. Really? Well, how is that not in Israel's interest? So the people are going to return home if Hezbollah remains at its current strength capacity and near the Israel border. I'm confused. Near the Israel border, I'm confused. What do you suggest, John Feiner, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris? What do you suggest? All I've heard is, look, we don't want a wider war. No escalation. Israel, gosh, you're escalating things. What are you doing? You're supposed to appease your enemies like we do. That's what the Biden administration is saying. But what do they suggest? If a ceasefire is not going to happen and Hezbollah, and we should say Iran, the master, is not going to agree to that, they won't allow Hezbollah to agree to that, then what do you suggest? So no ceasefire, and yet Hezbollah raining rockets down on Israeli cities, 80,000 Israelis evacuated from their homes. And folks, they ain't going home if Hezbollah's still right there on the border. Who would? So Biden administration, what do you suggest? I still have not heard other than we want a diplomatic solution. Great. But it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Maybe it will. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll happen tomorrow. But Hezbollah doesn't seem to be the diplomatic type. So if that is kind of a dead end right now and it's not working, what do you suggest Israel does? Just act defensively? After Hezbollah fires a few hundred rockets, then Israel reacts. Well, I'll tell you what, Israel has done that a bunch over the years, and it never has worked out well. What has worked out well for Israel is going on the offensive. I bring you the Six-Day War. I bring you the past 8 days. Waiting and then reacting? Well, I bring you the Yom Kippur War. I bring you October 7th. These were not good outcomes. So it seems that Israel has been wise to go on the offensive and strike its enemies, who, by the way, are genocidal, demonic death cults, modern day Nazis. Strike them first before they have a chance to slaughter Israelis. But that's not the Biden doctrine or how he sees the world. So they don't have any suggestions on an alternative strategy for Israel other than restrain yourself and pray for diplomacy. That's the strategy. And where's the pressure on Hezbollah? Where's the pressure on the Lebanese government, which hosts Hezbollah? It's a state within a state. Hezbollah is the most powerful force in that nation. And this has developed over many years. It's the same as the Gaza template for the Biden administration. Israel, restrain yourself, be good, and no pressure on Hamas. There's 5 Americans still held as hostages in Gaza by Hamas, and the Biden administration, Harris, they mention them once in a blue moon. Biden mentioned them at the UN. Great. First time in a long time. No pressure, no concept of peace through strength or exercising leverage over these terror groups like Israel is doing now. Israel's saying the more we escalate and hit them hard, the more likely they are to agree to a ceasefire. But if we're just kind of going half speed and tit for tat, that's going to embolden them. And they're going to say, why do we want a ceasefire? Why should we back up from the border? We're making gains here. We have Israel on the run. Well, now Hezbollah's on the run. And it seems to me that Israel should press that advantage. And how shameful that the United States government, not the people, is trying to restrain Israel. And it just, and by the way, just read a report. Senator Tom Cotton out of Arkansas says he has very credible information that the Biden administration is delaying the delivery of crucial munitions to Israel, bombs, tractors, helicopters that Israel needs right now for its multi-front war effort. It's multiple fronts. It's Gaza, it's Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, Yemen, the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, and of course, Iran itself. 7 fronts. And the Biden administration is slow rolling the delivery of these much needed weapon systems. That's all you need to know. Last thing, we're talking about U.S. administrations, right? The Biden administration, their posture in all this. President Trump, some details coming to light. Now, we've shared this with you over the months that Iran has had a bullseye on the back of the former and perhaps future president, Donald Trump. Now this is ramping up once again. U.S. intelligence reports coming out just yesterday that they're telling Donald Trump, look, there's credible plots against you, and former Trump administration officials. Not only that, Blinken, the U.S. Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, said today that there's also Iranian plots against Biden administration officials. So the Iranian regime, folks, I want you to wrap your head. According to the U.S. government, the Iranian regime right now is plotting to kill current and former U.S. government officials. What's the U.S. response to this? How are the nerve to plot to assassinate U.S. officials? How could they do this, you might ask? Because they don't fear any consequences from the current administration. Again, this strategy does not work that's being employed by the current administration in D.C. Iran wouldn't dare to hatch such plots, and pretty openly, right? If they didn't fear any consequences. Well, there's no fear factor right now with the current occupant of the White House. And Iran, as a result, is emboldened and plotting to assassinate U.S. officials. This is happening. Wow. Now, Donald Trump had some very strong words for the Iranian regime. He said, quote, Iran should be, quote, blown to smithereens if the Islamic Republic is involved in the harming of any U.S. White House candidate or ex-president. This is really something. And the AFP, which is a French news outlet, basically their version of the New York Times, they call these provocative remarks from Trump. I think what's provocative is that Iran is planning to assassinate a former and current U.S. president. I think that's a bit more provocative than Trump's rhetoric. But this is what you're dealing with in the mainstream media. He said, if I were president, Trump said in response to this, I would inform the threatening country, in this case, Iran, that if you do anything to harm this person, we are going to blow your largest cities and the country itself to smithereens. And that seems to be a message Iran would respond to. Peace through strength. What doesn't seem to be a message Iran responds to is, please don't hurt us. Hey, we want a nuclear deal. We'll give you whatever you want. We'll give you billions of dollars. Just be good, be nice. We don't want to fight. That doesn't seem to work. As the global chess pieces move, call me crazy. But what a day, right? What a news day. A lot of information to report. Hey, tomorrow, quick reminder before I forget, tomorrow, September 26th already, a premium live stream. Remember, I've been telling you over the past few days, folks, for our premium members, hey, all of our subscribers, we love dearly, but we also have a premium membership offer here. If you're interested, you can sign up. No pressure at all. You still come here every day for free as a regular subscriber, but premium membership, I believe, is $4.99 a month, $4.99, and a few things helps keep us going. Unfortunately, this operation, very large YouTube channel, nearly 1 million subscribers, nightly TV show on TBN, podcast, it's not free. I wish it was, but it helps keep us going with our mission and the work we're doing. And also, you will get the premium live stream at least once a month where it's me and you, Q&A. I'm taking your questions, so it's kind of fun. It's not me talking at you. It's a real conversation, which is pretty fun. That is tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern time. 5 p.m. Eastern. We'll do the premium live stream. And also for premium membership, you get the podcast. It's called the Stacks Cast. You get the full video version of that. So some cool features there. And we're thankful for anyone, whether you're a premium member, you're not a premium member. We love you all. We appreciate all of you. And remember, Stackleback Tonight, my brand new nightly show on TBN. We'd love you to tune in on broadcast as well. Just launched in March. Every weeknight, Monday through Friday on TBN, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, re-air at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. A lot of good stuff. God is keeping us very busy, and that's the way we like it. We serve at the pleasure of King Jesus. Hey, folks, thanks so much for joining us today. Keep all this in prayer. You've got your prayer points, I think, here that I just laid out for you. Keep it all in prayer. Prayer works. It really does. Until tomorrow, thanks for watching. God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.